Gaming NBS, episode 180, coming to you Wednesday, February 28th, 2018. Welcome to Gaming NBS, Tabletop RPG Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Sean.
And I'm Brett. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to our listeners. Glad to have you all back on board. Whew. I'll tell you, man, my wife's out of town. She's in Vegas.
She's in Vegas, baby.
Yeah, with a bunch of her friends.
And,
so I'm like single dad for 5 days, and it's doable. I can do this.
She's doing the female version of The Hangover.
I doubt it. That's not my wife.
Those crazy women.
That's not Susan. I know some ladies who would be like that, but that's not my wife. I've seen some of the, well, she sent me pictures and stuff like, oh, we're doing this, we're doing that. I'm like, oh, looks like she's having fun. I have no desire ever to go to Vegas. That doesn't interest me.
You've never been there?
No, don't want to go either. Don't care.
Man, I got married there.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I got married there. I've been there like 5 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, aren't you just a big jet set and go getting guy?
High roller, I am not.
I think she said herself, I can't remember what her gambling limit was. I'm like, hey, how'd that go? She goes, yeah, it's gone. I'm like, okay. She has the same luck as I do. If you sit down and gamble, I might as well just give my money directly to whomever and say thank you very much and walk away.
I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast earlier, and he was, I don't remember the guest on there. There's another fellow comedian. And they were bringing up something like working hard and people slaving away and stuff like that. And one of the scenarios that the comedian came up with was there was a guy that knew somebody that worked a restaurant. And he worked a restaurant for like 8 years and saved up a bunch of money and went to Vegas and blew it in like 2 days.
Yeah, I can see that.
8 years of saving up as like a waiter.
Wow.
2 days, man. Holy shit.
I watched a episode one time on High Rollers years ago. Totally sidetracked. But gambling's gaming, so therefore it kind of fits.
Right.
And this guy, he was immigrated directly from Greece. When he got here, he got to Vegas and decided he wanted to be a gambler. God. Taught himself English, figured it out. And he was at the Horseshoe down there. And at one point, the pit boss came up to him and asked him if he would kindly cash out his $100,000 chips because he had all of them. All of them from the casino.
Well, he won.
He won, yes, and he does this all the time. He wins and rides high for like a month and then busts out completely, like dead broke, nothing, and then battles his way back. And they're interviewing this guy, and he loves it. It's like the best high for him.
Oh, God.
I'm like, the closest thing I get is a zero-level funnel, man. That's cool for me. Like, I'd rather vicariously have that kind of boom and bust. Give me 4 plebes in a DCC game, and I'll ride them all like I stole them, and we'll see who I end up with at the end. That's a lot more entertaining for me than throwing actual, literal cash out like that. But anyway, it's been fun. My 2 little kids and I are having a good time. The dogs are going a little crazy. My wife's little dog keeps going to the window, looking for her, then going to the bedroom, going downstairs, walking around, and just staring at me like, dude, where the fuck is Mom? The big dog, my boy Jack, my boxer's like, whatever, she'll come back. Little guy, he's still a little hyper. Anyway.
She went to Vegas.
She did. She's not coming back. Mommy found a new dog. That's why I keep chilling. Mommy found a new dog. She doesn't love you anymore. That'd be terrible. Anyway. So speaking of gambling, and oh my God, Sean and I both got in on the Midderlands Expanded Kickstarter. Glenn Seal, Monkey Blood Designs.
Gambling.
And we're both like...
What a lead-in.
It is. I mean, well, it was a long way to go to get here. I couldn't figure out how to do it. Anyway, Monkey Blood, friend of the show, nice guy. He does a lot of really good work. Love his stuff. And I missed out on the first Midderlands, and I'm like, damn it. I should get in on that. If he does another one, he said he's going to do another one. I'll see what happens. And I see it, boom, I jump on it. And Sean's in on it. We both adjusted pledges a couple times. He was close, so close, so close, so close. And then finally, in the closing, 20 hours or 30 hours or something like that, he crept over the limit. So it's funded. So awesome. So now I'm going to get some really cool shit. So I'm really, really happy. This is one of the few Kickstarters that I got in on the Matt Colville Strongholds one, and I'm like, well, that's like $1.5 million or something. Fine. I mean, that's interesting in of itself, but I honestly think I was I'm more emotionally invested in this Midlands expansion than I even was in Invisible Sun. I mean, Invisible Sun was a big dollar amount for me, to throw out there for a Kickstarter. But I'm like, oh man, I really want Glenn to get this. I really want it. Come on, Monkey Blood, you got this, brother. And boom, it kicked. I was watching that thing probably as often as he was. So anyway, congrats, man. I'm really glad that worked out for you. That's awesome. I'm glad to help. Sean's excited too.
I am excited.
He's been old school. He's been jonesing for the old school stuff.
I kind of am.
Which means at GaryCon, we've got opportunity to old school it up.
That's true.
And I do think I need another copy of Swords and Wizardry. I have the one Kickstarter that they put out where they had the all-female layout and artist and so forth, which is a really cool one. But I think I want the Earl Otis cover as well. And the book is not that expensive. And it's always good to have a second hardcover for a play copy or one else to have at the table. So, yeah. But we're still going to get to GaryCon. Still planning to be there. All systems are still go. I figured if I let my wife go to Vegas, the least I can do is I get to go to a gaming convention, right? So there you have it.
That's true. Yeah,
Sean, have you built up enough spousal cred that you can make it? That was my spousal cred build up. Hey, I'm going to be gone for 4 days. Is this okay? Yeah. Here we
my
go.
fear is my dog. My dog's on meds,
right.
and I am the only one that pills him 3 times a day. And so my wife gets freaked out when I pill him because he looks like he's struggling. Right? He's like squirming around and doesn't want him in it. Doesn't want my fingers in his mouth. And so we'll see.
Well, when you do that to me, I'm not fond of it either. So
I'll have to bring the dog with me. Hey, boy, want to go to RPG Con?
You could just slap a fake support blind. Just get a fake cane, act like you're blind. It'll be fine. No, don't do that. That'd be rude.
Service dog.
Yeah, don't do that.
Service dog. He is not.
No, he's not.
No.
All right, that's enough of that stuff.
Yeah.
Let's actually talk about some real gaming here, man. Let's do it.
Encounter of randomness.
Yes. You want to start out? I'll let you start out. I did too much giggling and babbling there. You go.
Matt Seiberlich emails us as a follow-up to episode 178. Hey, BS. Just got done with episode 178. Wanted to say thanks for giving my email regarding immersion so much attention. At the end of the episode, you asked me to let you know if you'd covered my question completely. In 2018, Sean is no longer using the phrase, so I'll take up the mantle and have to say, it depends. Yeah. Brett's comments regarding removing distractions made a lot of sense, as anything that aids player involvement will definitely aid immersion. These provide a good foundation for play, regardless of the level of immersion, and I'll definitely keep them in mind as I go forward. I am totally with Sean as well with regards to the more artistic elements of gameplay. Role-playing, narration of action, speaking as your character. These are things that, when other players use them, help keep me immersed. Where you can help a brother out is at a more basic level. I don't know if it's a new player thing or not, but I have difficulty keeping my brain able to visualize the scene, visualize the players and their actions, determine how my character would react, translate all of that into an action that fits within the game rules, describe that action in a way which fits within all of the above. I'm okay at the last 2, but the first 3, I will reiterate, visualize the scene, visualize the players and the actions, and determine how my character would react, especially when combined with real-time aspect of gameplay, can produce what scientists refer to as, quote, hot fucking mess.
Well, that is a scientific term.
I'm sure there are some basic techniques to improve these abilities, but I can't seem to find them. I've tried researching basic acting, roleplay, and improv without any real success, so if you have any direct advice or resources that might help, I'd really appreciate it. Matt Seiberlich, or just Expatriate Scani.
All right, Matt. For visualize the scene, visualize players and actions, and determine how your character would react. Here's a thing I have done. When I find myself not paying attention, accidentally or on purpose, I will be like, all right, hang on a second. So, this is what I see. And then I will verbally say out loud to everybody. So, Chris's guy's doing this. John's over there. Okay, what were you doing? Okay, yeah, Steph's there. This is there. So I will do. It's basically a mini GM thing where I will reiterate the stuff back and say, all right, so God, if you're doing that, the best thing for me to do is X. So the other piece, if you don't want to go around the table, you got 4 or 5 people playing, may not want to do that. But the other thing to do is tie your actions based off of somebody else. Listen to the group as your cue. If you're not in the lead, if you're not the lead person, especially if you're using an initiative-based thing, and if you're like me, you're never near the top of the initiative, you're always somewhere near the bottom, because I roll like shit. I can say, I'm going to go after the fighter, because my rogue, that's what he's going to do. And Sean's the fighter. He's punching the dude in the face. I'm like, that's awesome. I'm going to come up and flank and backstab. As simple as that. But keying yourself off of the other players, using them as the springboard, could be helpful in that regard. Sean, you got anything?
I guess it depends on what kind of character you're playing, too.
That's true. No, it absolutely does. That's a good point.
So if you are playing Fightor, then you could just simply say, I want to, where's the biggest, baddest NPC, big bad evil person, and I want to go up and smash their face. So maybe everything else is really irrelevant, but that's what you want to do.
Well, even if you're that guy, say you're a face punchy dude, and you're like, well, I don't know what to do, I'm going to stay by the cleric. And like, look, I buddy up to another player character, protect the wizard, make sure the diplomat doesn't get shot in the gunfight, just act as bodyguard, whatever. But it's similar to, just my idea of tying yourself to another character, because then you've got something that you have to stay connected to in a way, because if you don't, you're not going to have anything to do.
Yeah.
So, you don't agree with me, do you?
I agree.
You do?
I guess. I wasn't paying attention.
What were you saying, Brett?
What's the biggest, baddest guy?
God, I hate this. I hate this guy.
I go and smash his face.
There you go.
Or her face.
So, Matt, let me know if my ideas were of any use. Or if Sean's.
One way around it is just to get rid of theater of the mind and just put minis on the table. Or
actually, that's not a bad idea either, really, because if you look at it, you then have a visual cue. Some people I know really, really like playing with minis, and that's one of the main reasons is because of the immersion component, not just because they love to be the tactician and work the angles and so on. Even when I'm playing with kids, I'll use a kind of a brown butcher paper thing and just draw on it with a marker. There's no lines or hexes. It's just all vagaries for distance. But putting minis on there, as soon as you put out the monster mini and you put the PC minis out there and a bunch of orcs and an ogre, all the kids are paying attention. And the same thing works for big kids who are in their 40s and 30s or older. So that's a very good point, Sean. If miniatures would help, that's not bad. And if your crew is not using miniatures, if you're not the game master and no one else around you is using them, as goofy as it sounds, you could draw it out yourself just on a piece of paper or something along those lines. I have sketched out battle scenes before that I didn't understand when we were doing Theater of the Mind for myself and say, okay, so are you telling me it looks like this? And then present that to the game master, and they go, yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. And then I've kind of kicking and screaming drug a few people into using battle mats through that technique before because it was getting so convoluted. That's a neat idea. I like that, Sean. I hadn't thought about that. All right, Matt. So that may or may not be of any help. If anybody else has any ideas here, Matt kind of listed out what he's looking for. Again, visualizing the scene, players' interactions, and determining how his character would react. If there's some other really cool ideas or better thoughts in there than what Sean and I just had off the cuff, share them, and we'll make sure we get them out to Matt. All right. Ready, Sean?
Yeah, man.
You sure? Are you with me today? You look a little.
Yeah, man, I'm waiting, dude.
All right, just wait.
Your turn. Your go.
All right, my go. VC Young emailed us. Good day to my northern brothers, or some U.S. citizens referred to Canadians. My hat buddies. Wisconsin's above Illinois. Canadians above the U.S. Hats are above heads. You get it. All right. So I found myself in a bit of a pickle as of late. You see, you guys had a nice thing going for you use on Tuesdays, and then someone moved it to Wednesdays, which would be Sean. Totally throws my writing to your schedule overboard. Thanks, Sean. Seriously, though.
Hey. You're welcome.
Oh.
Hey, VC.
Sucker.
You're welcome.
All right, he goes on. Seriously, though, I love you guys, and the show moving in extra days actually rounded out my weekly podcast listening. We did it for you, VC. We knew you'd come around.
We're like Steve Jobs, man. We know what you need. You just don't know it.
Not yet, until you have it.
That's right.
Yes, we're the iPad. We're the iPad of gaming podcast. No one knows they want one until they see it.
That's right.
The downside to this move, though, is that now, when I have feedback, I get distracted with work or household-related business, as Wednesdays are one of my more busy days. So all my constructive criticisms will get lost in the work desk of productivity. However, this week is different because I tweeted this complaint to your Twitter, and now a little birdie has reminded me of this. So I'm writing you today to give you my feedback. A few of the past episodes. So let's see where he's got. Episode 176, Sanity. First off, in regards to Brett's comments and to Jared Rasher, damn right, your game, your rules. That's awesome. Really, though, I do get the idea of altering a game to fit your needs has a limit, and that you should, in theory, play a game that does what you want. But sometimes Brett's game might be the better game in the long run. One of the more fun aspects of RPGs is that it's a shared gaming experience that we can make together. Hell, sometimes it's really fun to throw new rules and see how they work throughout your games. Hell, you see this every day in the indie gaming market. The only difference between two games might be one uses a deck of cards to tell you what you get as a reward, and the other does not. Going off what you guys said about Sandy now, I have to agree with Brett. But I also, Sean, can't let this go over his head now, can we? You're the Kelly, of course. Brett, I agree that if you're using Sandy rules, the effect of having your sanity break should fit the cause. When I run a horror game, see episode 60, he thinks. I think it was one you read my comments on. I used the sanity rules for D20 Modern. It was great. I had a player who ended up eating a corpse because the sanity broke, and he, in-game, was starving, as well as a burger by any other name. Cannibalism, always fun. In games. But also, I agree with Sean. Not telling the player their character is going down loony bin lane is great for roleplay and brings an element of chaos to the game that makes it fun. Having a player who keeps seeing something that's not there, having conversations with things that are not there, that others can't interact with because it's not real, sounds really fun. It's not just limited to modern games either. The D&D 3.5 era, Blizzard Entertainment released some Warcraft D&D books that talk about sanity and how a world with magic would affect someone who went insane. Maybe magic could cure you, but when you have multiple personality disorder, one of your personalities might not get cured. Or maybe the wrong one does. Maybe instead you develop an addiction to magic, specifically necromancy. How would you tell your friends how you deal with that situation? The rules are interesting to read, to say the least. So, as always, thanks for touching on the sensitivity issue. There are people who do not want to be reminded of their mental problems during their fun time. There are others, like Brett and myself, who are heavily jaded that exploring these issues is fun. Thanks for reminding people it's an important issue in gaming that we should be aware of it. Lastly, for episode 176, seriously play Shadows of the Demon Lord. Or if you like, I could run a game of Gamehole Con for you guys. Whatever works.
Oh, well, there we go.
I think we've got the answer.
There we go. He's going to run a game of Shadows of the Demon Lord for us.
We got it scheduled November, first weekend.
There we go. Yeah, sounds
Done.
good. Yep.
All right, next up he hits on episode 177, Adversarial GM. Don't you mean game mastering? Ha 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 ha. First off, James Carruthers, I respectfully disagree. Brett did not go over the edge in episode 176. He went over the edge at Gamehole Con, where he, as the GM of this Avalon game, described and demonstrated a monster kicking a hidden door open. Brett was wearing a kilt. Let that sink in for a minute. Then came back to talk to me about Brett's over the edge levels. That's true. I did the kick the door in motion while wearing a kilt in front of my players.
Whoa.
Yeah. It was
twigs and berries everywhere.
No. It was fine. It was fine.
Tighty whities.
No, nothing like that. If you wear underwear, it's a skirt. So
that's true.
let's just say nothing was revealed. But I think the fear of revelation caused the eyes to be averted.
It's fatal. It's Fatal Attraction, the RPG version.
Yeah. Yes. Anyway. Next, alpha gamer, as Brett defined it, is what I always know the term to mean as well. The player who goes above and beyond and can be counted on by the GM to be a resource for the other players is an alpha gamer. The negative connotation of the word, I think, is subjective to the people you're talking about and their culture. It's kind of like different dialects and slang terms. Here in Chicagoland area, I know a lot of people who say soda a reference to a carbonated drink like Dr. Pepper, but also use the word pop. It's the same thing, just two different words. I also have a friend from my youth who refers to soda as a glass of bubbles, which a lot of people would think he's drinking champagne. The best phrase I've heard from this was a sociology professor in college. East Coast and West Coast words tend to meet us in the middle at the ponds, where they end up mixing together. So again, make sure you're clear as to what people are asking for. Good Lord, he's got a long one here. Third, I respectfully disagree with yours and Randy Farmer's definitions of adversarial to a degree. My reasoning for this is because the definition changes from person to person and group to group. Let's take Brett's ogre example. The only friendly example of an ogre I have heard of is Shrek. He was an asshat for the majority of the movie anyways. Most of the fantasy and most of mythology does not paint ogres as good, friendly flower pickers. Most of the time, ogres are portrayed as large, dumb, garbage disposals with an appetite and a club. It does not matter the game I'm playing. Pathfinder, Fate, Shadows of the Demon Lord. If I hear ogre, I'm on guard. Even if it offers me tea and a cookie. You should not have to be told the thing is twice your size, smells like rotting something, is looking at you with hungry eyes, drooling. It's not your friend, and you're probably on the menu. Now, everything I just described, I'm sure, would upset someone in the game. It doesn't in Brett's group, and I know it doesn't mine. If I were to tell the group that the ogres had some secret about them, like every time you hit vomit, it vomits acid. I've actually done that. They would get angry at me for telling them the secret. The players are always wanting to know. They want to explore and learn about the monsters and the world. They don't want, nor do they feel they need to have me hold their hand and say, okay, guys, this large creature standing in the middle of the town eating people is not your friend, and he's going to throw a corpse at you. If you get too close, so don't get any closer than 10 feet. Oh, and is that adversarial? I'm sure to one of the listeners out there, yes, very much so, but to my group of friends, it is not. I think they have the same mentality about the games the games I run, as many OSR adventure creatures had back in the day. The adventure was not meant to kill the party, it's meant to test your creativity. The world's largest dungeon, the Bar of the Forgotten King, Tomb of Horror, these were our tools to get people to think outside the box and use their tools, their characters, in creative ways. You can see a strange hole in the mouth of the demon, Sean. You know that key you need is in the demon's mouth, but you can't see in the mouth or even get a light source. Do you stick your soft, fleshy arm appendage in there? No. Brett, I use my 10-foot pole and poke in there to see what might happen, because I like my fleshy appendage. Pole gets eaten by trap. Sean pulls out his new 2-foot pole. Sean holds right arm with a look of sadness, whispers softly, I love you, arm appendage. I like that. That reminds me of a Zim episode. I love you, cold and feeling robot arm. Anyway, he continues, I do understand the other side of the coin. I've been there, but I've always enjoyed the exploring and learning aspect of the games I've been in. To me, it's like solving a large puzzle, and everything you learn along the way is filling in the puzzle. That is the game. In that respect, I agree with both of you. There's a limit. I don't know about you, but I know how I feel if I'm a little bit hungry. If I go a day without eating in real life, I feel like shit. In a game, I'm probably going to be eating my fellow PCs. Just saying, I know what hunger is and what it feels like. It's not a mysterious sensation that I dislike that and confounds me. Unless I was Warforged or a construct made of flesh, that might be a cool story. Anyway, I get his point there, Sean. The point is, my idea, the idea of you know it when you see it, is one of those things that's kind of natural in some of those cases. Before I go on, Sean, you get any points or counterpoints you want to throw in there?
No.
It's a long one, man. You know what?
Yeah, he's doing like 5 episodes.
I know. I'm going to tag you in. Go.
Episode 178, he continues, immersion in games. Blake, I think, said it best on his comments on adversarial GMing. Balance is key. Sky, I agree with, except the Earth Angel idea. If we're comparing game styles to song, Brett's more like the song Renegade, while everyone else is more Bad Company. Sean is always Johnny Be Good. Ha ha. God. Episode 179, Energy. I'm going to start off saying that most of my comments for episode 178 also tie into episode 179. As for me and most that I game with, these two subjects go hand in hand and act as a kind of battery for our games. Now, first off, stands up clapping. That's the shit I'm talking about, Mongrel. So
Players.
somebody's going to be listening to this, like, trying to figure out where all these references tie to. And
Well, the nice thing is he names the episode. So that's episode
That's
179, Energy. Boom.
That's true. Yes.
Grab it, listen to it.
Yeah, go back.
This is a back catalog. Oh, I wonder what that is.
Totally is.
This is archaeological dig in the last 5 episodes. When you
Jesus
hear this,
Christ.
you're like, what the hell is that?
We're
Go
going to
back
be
and
on
listen.
episode 400, and somebody's going to listen to this crap. And holy cow, they got to go all the way back to, like,
It's good.
178.
It's good for them. Puts hair in their chest.
That's true.
Keep going.
Actually, that whole example was bad of mine, because they would be listening to this, and it only goes back 3 or 4 or 5 episodes. Anyways, all right, now energy for game and maintaining it for the game is a bit of a challenge. Usually, if you can get that spark from the beginning and slowly charge it up, you can hold it for the whole game. With my present Kingdom Builder game, I try to use immersion to feed the energy for the game. When we start every session, we go over 5 questions that I have posted to my players involving their character's life. Excuse me. These range from family history, cultural idea, manners, religion. Everything is open for the questions. The idea is to not only to get the players to think more of their characters as people and not just pieces of paper. We work on fleshing out who they are, where they came from, why they left, and some personal things about the characters. While they do that, I kick on my computer and start getting some mood music sound going for them from mynoise.net. Are they starting in a forested area? I kick on some slight wind, some distant birds, the sounds of the trees rustling from the wind. Once everyone has started their answers to the questions, I then ask one of them to recap the last game. Come to notice that there are 2 ways they are doing this now. The first is usually someone will jump on their phone or laptop, open up our digital notebook, OneNote for Microsoft, which they all have access to, and they will read my review of the past game, and or one of the players, usually one significant other, will read her uber paranoid conspiracy theorist detailed notes. By the time they're done, they've had about 30 to 40 minutes of recap, character refreshing, environment saturation. So now they and I are in the zone of the same game, for some game. The last bit of icing on the cake is I have started using a Benny system. I will reward them for clever thinking, problem solving, and creative answers to the character questions, which they can use in a multitude of ways in the game and out of game. One player used 2 of his to make 2 NPCs in the game who have become the group's favorites. During the game, I try to make sure they stay in character, and even during conversation, I will refer to them by their character names, not real names. Usually, if I have to say the real name, it means they're in trouble. Or if it's a puzzle, I break character to present it to them in another way. I go so far as to even make character profiles for the key NPCs they interact with, and I have made different voices and everything for them so they know when they are talking to Guard Collins and Guard Charles, which one is responding based solely on how I'm responding. All these things helps jumpstart the game, and I keep it charged for the whole session. The online notebook helps too. Any maps or important locations that they travel to, any organizations they meet, any resources they obtain for the kingdom, they have a full-fledged reference at their 24/7 disposal. Man. However, this might be a precursor to episode 180. There have been a few times where the players turn into the problem. Adversarial players can suck the immersion right out of the game and just kill the energy. I have an issue with one player who thinks he can multitask. Will try to play a little game on his phone and answer questions about what's happening in game. This has led to one major fight that wasn't going to happen, but he insisted after getting his attention he was attacking. He didn't know what, but he did, and a chase ensued. I have also run into recently an issue where a player is using a semi-meta perspective of me, the GM, to justify the character's actions. Brett, this is in regards to the Wax People conversation we had this past week.
Yeah, so he has these bizarre wax fleshy things, people, and he was private tweeting me, messaging me saying, "Hey, I've got a thing. What do you think?" So we were going back and forth around this. Keep going.
He is using this idea that since I commonly run horror, spooky, twisting games, that this game is no exception, and that he wants to get a head up on me. However, this game, I have not done anything of that nature. No jump scares, no super death monsters. There was a spot of scare music in the beginning. That was it. So dealing with the next game will be interesting. All right, guys, I've rambled long enough, so I will close with these last few words. Thank you, Brett, for the advice on the above wax people. Your perspectives have been a great help. Sean, how would you like the year of the Kelly picture I made for you? Yes, that was very nice.
That was awesome.
So if you haven't seen that, yeah, he took the picture of me dressed up as Negan from The Walking Dead and added some flash to it.
Little trains in the background.
Pizzazz. Oh, that's right, yeah. Brett, when are we going to see some Avalon? Frustrated grunting. Brett, did the map I sent you work for what you needed it? Thanks, guys, for doing what you do. Keep on doing what you do.
All right. VC, I do not have a map. I think you're talking about the one that you sent, or that you were going to send for EverCon. I think maybe you did.
Some confusion abounds.
I think I responded to you.
Somebody is not paying attention to the game.
No. Damn it. Now, I saw this coming. I'm like, where the fuck? Where did he send it? Where is it? Because I know he and I were talking about it.
I don't know.
And I can't find it, man. So I'll tell you what, VC, I'm going to dig through and see what I can find as soon as we're done recording here and find out what the hell. I'll get back to you. God damn it.
Holy bejeepers. Thanks for writing in, VC. I hope your games work out well.
Yes. You know, I know sometimes we'll see a long response like this, and sometimes you go, oh, Christ, that's a long one. But on the flip side, I think Sean and I both agree that if somebody took the time to put together decent thoughts, perspectives, responses, and so forth, it's worth taking a look at. So thank you, VC. I think it's really cool. I appreciate Mongrel and other guys who have written in some long ones. Anybody who writes in, quite frankly, even if it's anything, it's really nice. It shows that actually somebody's listening and has something to say back to what we've done. So with the Avalon stuff, a quick little side note, Sean Merwin is in the process of starting the editing of the book documentation. So I've got another discussion with the boys at Encoded. We're talking about timing. They had a couple other projects drop on them, which kind of pushed mine to the back burner for the time being, but I think it's coming back to the front. What does that mean for time? I do not know yet. I will find out, and once I know, I will let you guys know. So thank you for asking, sir. All right. Abram Nothingale, email less.
Nothnagel.
Nothnagel? Oh, did I say? Oh, God.
You said Nothingale before. It said dyslexia.
I just added a little extra letter in there. Abram. How about that? Abram emailed us. You know, I've got a last name that gets butchered all the time. It's just, I should know better. I should know.
Bart.
I should know Bart. Yeah, my first name gets messed up too. I've been called Steve before. I think I've told you that story.
Steve?
Yeah. Hi.
You kind of look like a Steve.
Yeah, I totally look like a Steve. I don't even know what that means.
You kind of look like Steve Orlick, even though I don't know what Steve looks like.
I don't even. Maybe? I don't know.
You kind of look like Colville. That's the problem.
His name's Matt. It's not even Steve, though.
Well, I call him Steve.
You call him Steve? Okay, so now that I've insulted Abram like for the 15th time, Abram, I'm really sorry, man. Anyway, introducing a new group to D&D. Hello, Gaming and BS. I meant to send this email to you before, but tonight was my first real session GMing for a new role-playing group. I've been playing tabletop RPGs both as a game master and as a player for close to a decade now, whether it be Dungeons & Dragons, GURP, Shadowrun, 7th, or even entirely homebrew systems. However, this entire experience with role-playing has been with the same gaming group. I've been there, man. So we've grown and learned how to play together. Now, however, I'm running a game for my girlfriend and her friends. This will be a party of mostly girls with little to no prior experience with tabletop RPGs. And so I was wondering if you guys could give me some advice for how I can make this experience enjoyable for them and really introduce them to the hobby properly. I know that you guys have covered this topic in general way before, but I was wondering if you had any advice for the specific situation. I'll fill you in on where the party stands now. All right, Sean, what do we got? They've gone through character creation for first-level D&D 5e characters. The party consists of a paladin, rogue, cleric, wizard, and a bard. It's a damn good party.
All right, sounds relatively balanced.
I've asked them what kind of game they want to play, and the response I got was a high fantasy adventure with mystery undertones and relic hunting. I've been thinking of a loose framework for a game with those thoughts in mind and started them at first level to help them learn how the game is played by building from the ground up. Do you guys have any suggestions for how I can make this game as positive of an experience as possible? Thanks, Abram. Well, I'll tell you right now, if you know what they mean by high fantasy and mystery undertones and relic hunting, if you know what that means.
Well, I think the relic hunting's a no-brainer.
Should be. absolutely should be. So my statement is, if you know what those things are, and you absolutely are in alignment with the ladies you're running for, give it to them. It has to have high fantasy adventure. You need the mystery undertone and the relic hunting. You can easily have the relic hunting be part of the mysterious artifact or something you need to find, and whatnot. High fantasy, it sounds like they're not looking for Brett's usual grim, dark murder and cannibalism in the alleyways of Avalon. You need something bigger than that. So I think, as corny as that sounds, you know what those things are. If you're totally keyed in on them, even ladies you're running for, if they get it, give them those things. A little bit every session if you can. Right? Even if it's a clue towards the next relic they're after. Even if it's just a piece of the mystery, or a new mystery has unfolded after the final one has been answered. But I think that is a key piece for me, because they were kind enough to tell you up front, this is what we want. So there's no reason not to give that to them. Don't do a bait and switch, for God's sakes. Don't do that to them, because that will wreck everything. Sean, you got anything? I'm thinking here if there's anything else.
Dude, base it in Eberron, make them parts of Morgrave University, and have the organization send them out to Zendrick to uncover relics, while at the same time having some, double crosses occur. Because high fantasy, in my opinion, that's Eberron, I think. And then there's enough intrigue and action to go on in that world specifically. There's so much meat and potatoes you can sink your teeth in and make happen in that world. I mean, you can do it yourself too. I mean, but
that's true from a setting perspective. I do not know Eberron, but from everything you've described to me in the past, that definitely is dead on.
Yeah, it's what it's built on. I mean, shoot, even those guys at Manifest Zone and Christian Serrano, he made Savage Worlds do it because it just aligns better with the action-oriented, pulpy kind of feel that Eberron conveys. And you can make a part of an organization and have them go on relic hunting expeditions.
Yep, and in the process, you've got the undertone of the mystery. Like, we found 4 bones from Dragon Kings. 4 different Dragon Kings we've been forced to get, or asked to fetch bones from these guys. Or this. What is that about? What's this about? No one wants to tell. I'll tell you later. I mean, you can do all of those things. I think the idea you have, regardless of the setting, if you don't want Eberron, or you're like, shit, I don't have it, I don't want to get into it, you can, having it be mission-based, right? It's almost the problem of the week type of thing, where they come in like, hey, here's the deal. Almost X-Files-y, if you remember X-Files, Abram, where you come in and you've got a thing you're going to go fix, solve, whatnot. In the background, there's the plot. That's kind of the mystery you kind of cook in the background. So I think that's totally doable. But the other piece is, as you gauge what they're into from a positive experience, if they're really digging the high fantasy adventure components, and if the answer for them is beating the shit out of bad guys, they want to get to kill a dragon. They want to fight goblin hordes. They want to investigate nefarious drow activities. Wherever they go, or wherever they start to show interest, I mean serious interest, lean into that shit. Take your plot, whatever it is, and tweak it as necessary to go the direction they're going. Right? I mean, there's no reason that if you're like, well, it's going to be all about the drow, and then it turns out they could give 2 shits about the drow. They've heard a story about the Githyanki, and I want to go after the Sons of Gith. Okay, I guess we're going over there now. That's totally fine. Or if they fuck all that and they want to go kill a dragon, as I said, that's fine too. Just wherever they want to go, kind of lean into that space. I've had really good luck doing that with anybody when I've run a game for first-time players. When I see what they're really enjoying, give them more of that, at least for that session. And sometimes at the start of the next session, how'd that go? Yeah, that was fun. Boy, I'm really hoping we could do more of X soon, though, because I'm kind of tired of killing dragons. Could we figure out something else? Yeah, totally. Here's something else, Constant feedback loop at the tail end would also be very helpful. Sean?
Create an NPC Make a player character part of that NPC's history. Have that a long-term bond. Have the NPC send them on a mission to uncover an artifact. Have the NPC convey the importance of the artifact. Have them find out that it's a lie or something isn't correct in what that trusted NPC has conveyed. That gets them questioning what's going on. Then when they return it, somebody turns on them, or they find out that they're being turned upon and that major NPC is behind it for some reason. That NPC could be under duress or by pressure from another third party, or maybe they've changed their vision of the world. That would be their ideal, right?
They could be cursed. They could have a problem. They could, in the background, be portrayed as the head of a paladin order, but somewhere in the background, their vision of the world is corrupted, and they no longer think this. Or they're taking their paladinhood in a totally crazy-ass motherfucker way, or they burn all the infidels approach.
Yeah,
which is
find out they're serving the bads of the world that you stand against, but they've chosen to join them for some reason. They just haven't conveyed it to you, and now you're doing the bad's dirty work through this trusted NPC.
Or like you said, the NPC's under duress, and insofar as there's a mind flayer behind the scenes completely fucking with this person, man or woman, or it's an evil wizard or a different cleric. Somebody's got, the person you're working for, she tells you, look, I'm sorry, I'm really, really sorry, but they have my child. They have my husband. They've done this. If I don't do this, they're going to kill my family. I mean, it's a tropey thing, man, but it freaking works. Look, I didn't mean to betray you. I had no choice. The mind flayer made me, and then whatever. That all works too. But yeah, I mean, if they dig that stuff, go in. I mean, we're talking high adventure here. You can pull out the stops.
Have them hand over the relic, and then they find out they did just the worst thing they could do is hand it over. Now they have to get it again. But at what cost?
I like it.
Right.
All right, Abram, if that was of any use, let us know. If we totally missed the mark and you're already 5 sessions in and you tried it and we fucked up your game, I'm really sorry. But let us know if there was any nuggets of wisdom in there. It is the year of the Killy. There's random wisdom just falling out from this podcast at this point. So let us know what you find.
Mirko Froelich comments on G+. I'm still in the middle of listening to this episode, but wanted to leave a quick comment before I forget. You were joking about a player going through a difficult personal issue, such as a divorce, and messing with their character in-game. That reminded me of hilarious The IT Crowd episode, Season 4, Episode 1, where Roy was dumped by his girlfriend and Moss, as the GM, ran a D&D scene to give him closure. It's worth watching. On that note, I don't remember, but have you ever done an episode on RPGs and popular media? Not sure if this fits with the theme of your show, but it could be fun to have an episode on how our hobby is represented in TV, movies, etc., as that's what informs people outside the hobby's opinions, especially with recent popular shows as Stranger Things. It might even make sense to combine with this with a larger topic, which you may or may not have covered already, of how we're representing the hobby to non-gamers. For example, I tend to proudly out myself as a role-playing nerd when I chat with my team at work, but it would be interesting to see how everyone else approaches this. Apologies if you've already covered both. I might just have to restart at episode 1 and work my way forward again. Yeah,
well,
it's interesting.
We've kind of touched on it bits and pieces.
Brett doesn't keep up with pop culture, though. He doesn't watch TV. He doesn't
not
watch
really.
movies.
Not much. Although I did watch The Ritual.
Oh, shit.
The new movie.
Yeah, but there's no gaming in that.
Well, apparently you don't play Call of Cthulhu, but okay, it's awesome, inspirational. But it's not like gaming, like we're talking about gaming,
right? Like watching Community when they run a D&D game.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
Right, exactly.
So that said, that would make it hard to be part of the regular show. But to what I have been told, Stranger Things has a.
He hasn't even watched Stranger Things.
No, I don't.
Get the fuck off my podcast, Brett.
Whatever, dude. Whatever. Anyway, from what I've been told by Sean and others, the way D&D is portrayed on Stranger Things is actually fairly positive. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
There isn't a ton of it in there. I think a lot of people got in on the it starts off like that. So everybody's like, "Whoa, cool."
But it doesn't portray them as a
references-
bunch of stupid nerds and acting weird and playing into every fucked up trope about us. It doesn't do that.
No. And then there's references sprinkled even throughout season 2.
I think the
Stranger Things is better than. Have you watched the D&D movies, Brett?
The D&D movies. Oh, like the really shitty ones that came
Yeah.
out? Yeah. I saw.
You watched
I saw
how many?
All 3 of them.
All 3 of them.
I have over the years.
And he hasn't watched Stranger Things.
I mean, that's old, man. Do you know what else I do with my time? Like hanging with my kids.
Watch it with them. Lana's old. I mean, she's mature enough. She could probably handle it. There's nothing really crappy, scary. I mean, it's borderline Cthulhu creepy, but...
Yeah, so what I have to do is I have to watch it first, verify that it's acceptable, and then watch it again.
What parents
and if
yeah.
it's the job, man. I knew that job was
true.
dangerous when I signed up for it.
Yeah.
Anyway, the only thing that really torques me off in general, when I see it portrayed, when I have seen it, or when people talk about it, like, oh yeah, boy, it's a bunch of nerds, geeks, dweebs, in the most tongue-in-cheek, poking fun at ourselves. That shit gets old to me. If Stranger Things is not doing that, then that's fun, right? I remember back in the X-Files days when you don't play D&D all those years without learning something about courage, right? That was in an X-Files episode, that statement. And it was made like making a joke of the thing, like, and that always torques me off.
Well, and I think in some art, yeah, I don't know. It all depends. Like some people think that watching, God blast it all. What's the one? Shit, who's got Sheldon on there? God.
Big Bang Theory.
Yeah,
I don't even watch it. See, here's the deal: you don't have to watch popular culture to understand what's going on in it. Just go on Facebook, hang out on Google Plus, check social media, and everyone will tell you everything you need to know. I don't even need to know. I don't even need to see Marvel movies because everybody will fucking tell me what they're all about. Done. Moving on.
Well, okay, but at the same time, some will say that Big Bang Theory is a bad representation of nerd culture. They get bent out of shape.
I've absolutely heard that.
Yeah, and then they get bent out of shape, and then there's other nerds that love the damn show. So I mean, it's all it's to each their own. But I do think some are worse than others.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, man. I find more normal people gaming every day. Like I don't understand where the stereotype comes. I mean, I know where it originates, but I don't know, man. I think it's just something that the people that were of jockage back in the day would just lump us non-athletes into kind of a clump.
Well, I had some hardcore athlete guys who played with me in high school. One of them refused to let anybody else around. He was like terrified that the team would find out.
Right, but that's my point.
Yeah.
He would be terrified that the team would find out. So I think it's more of these weird social clique crap that happened 40 years ago, 30 years ago, and I think we've grown out of that.
Yeah.
Because it's just not high school anymore. But at the same time, it's carried over.
I know you're open about gaming at work and other places. I am. I got a D20 on my desk. I've got gaming stuff on my desk. My boss is like, "You play that?" "Yes." "I have a D20 tattooed on my left leg." "Really?" "Yeah, look. It's on my calf." "Holy shit. Yeah, I'm not fucking kidding. I do this." "Oh, wow. You run a gaming convention?" "Yep." "Really?" And then later that week, "So how long have you been doing it?" "You've been doing it for a long time." Everybody circles around. Everybody comes back.
Yeah.
And then people come out of the woodwork. "Yeah, I had friends of mine who really did it. They really seemed to like it. I should try it sometime." These are 40 and 50-year-old men and women telling me this. So...
yeah, they're missing out, man.
They're totally missing out.
They're totally, you've missed out. Like I feel bad for some people that haven't, and they got other things that they enjoy. Don't get me
totally
wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think there's some people that, man, if they just, hey man, it's Apple. It's Steve Jobs. If I conveyed this to you, because you don't like this.
Yeah. No, you don't. You haven't seen it yet.
If I were to put this in front of you, you would love it. That's the problem. A lot of people haven't had they haven't had a slice of the pie. They haven't gotten the iPad that people would say that it wouldn't make any sense.
Interesting.
I don't know.
I guess
Wow,
are there people? I do not know anybody right now who is a gamer that hides it. No one I game with, I should say. None of my friends, none of my gamer friends that I'm aware of actively don't mention it, right? If something comes up, what are you doing this week? I'm just hanging out with some friends of mine.
I don't know about that, man.
No one I know. If they're doing it, I don't know it.
But you're hanging around guys and gals that are in a particular circle. Like they probably share similar thoughts, right? They're like, yeah. But I bet you I don't doubt there's some that will not admit. Oh, they'll admit to me, like, hey, I used to game and play,
yeah,
when I was growing up. But they are not going to go to their boss and admit that they play.
Like I said, if they're doing it, I don't know it because I don't see it. That's what I'm saying. Is I distinctly remember in high school and college people saying, yeah, boy, I'd never tell anybody I work with this. I would hear those statements. I don't hear that anymore. Whether that's
I got some guys at work, and I work at a place where it's all guys and one woman in our office in my division, and they're all sports buffs, like to the extreme, and that's fine.
Totally.
But I think I've piqued their curiosity because every once in a while they'd be like, hey, they'll bring up some reference or some geek reference, or they'll bring it up and they're not razzing me for it, right? Because they're kind of...
They're coming to you like the sage of the mountain. Could you explain this to me, Sean? I don't know what this one is. But
the thing that kills me is, I get people that say they want to know, and sometimes it's out of jest and sometimes it's out of like sincerity. They'll ask me like, oh, you have a gaming convention. Does that mean you're going to be dressing up? Do you dress up?
Oh, that's because cosplay makes the photographers happy.
Right. Well, and the thing is I probably dress up less than any. I dress less in about the industry, gaming, DMing, wizardry, all that, like anything about cosplay. I probably dress up less than they do as a sports fan.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
They put on their frickin' jersey and jump around a room about, and play fucking fantasy football.
Oh, yeah, I know, yeah. Oh, I get it.
I'm like, what? Like,
yeah, but
come on, man.
Yeah, but this is weird. This is weird, really.
Yeah, right, exactly. No, I don't dress up, but I know you do every Sunday.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck? Like, come on now.
I did say, I have used that before. Well, you guys like dress up and stuff. I'm like, you have a room in your house dedicated to the Packers. Fuck off.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
you've painted your house fucking green and gold.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't do that shit.
I don't mind your fandom, dude. Enjoy it. Get in on it. But when you're giving me the "that's weird of you" look,
right, right,
right in the eye,
right,
stab.
Right.
Anyway,
right. Yeah.
Interesting, Marco. I'm wondering. I don't know. It's kind of a. I don't know. It's odd. It's just. I think it depends who you are, what you're comfortable with, and where you're working. I work with a bunch of IT people. So if I bring it up, they're all aware of it. Like, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I know when I worked factory for 3 summers in my hometown, at 3M, slinging rock, digging ditches, filling them in. It was not a lot of fun. It was hard, backbreaking type of work. A lot of the guys there just didn't care about it much. That just wasn't a thing they were into. A couple of guys were into reading, and we'd talk about books and stuff, but it just, the folks that worked there, I didn't hide the fact that that's what I did, but it wasn't anything to start a conversation about. No one was into it. But, interesting. So I think, yeah. Damn, Merkel, that's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on.
All right, let's get to the main topic. We are going to be...
way long. Holy shit.
Holy long. Antagonizing players.
Adversarial.
All right, I'm gonna love this one.
Not talking about antagonizing them. We're talking about players who are adversarial.
Oh.
So we talked about this, and other people have brought it up. A couple different listeners brought it up around adversarial players. Kind of the what is it, and so on and so forth. So Sean, what would you when we talked about adversarial GM, we got a lot of different feedback, even from the old school DM and how we define it and so forth. Do you have a thought around this one as well?
Adversarial players?
Yeah. I'm going to ask you to fill this time because I got to yell at my kids. You talk.
All right. Awesome. Adversarial players. I would say...
I'm almost done. You don't have to go that slow.
It's like yelling at his kids from a distance as he's like waiting for me to finish this statement. I would just say it has to do with players that are confrontational, maybe in a negative manner, to be adverse to maybe what's going on at the table, and that's how I would define it. That Brett has not even heard how I defined it.
It sounds awesome. I love it. Give me a recap. Give me 2 minutes. This is what happens when my wife's out. I'm like, what the fuck are they doing out there? I couldn't tell if the dogs have eaten the couch or something or what happened. What the hell's going on here? Yeah, so I just bounced them off the walls. No, I'm kidding. I didn't do that. I'm not that kind of guy.
You have to remove that. All right, so adversarial game master or adversarial players.
Shit, we're 2 episodes back.
God damn it. So I would say it has to do with a player that's probably confrontational and adverse to kind of going along with the flow. Mm-hmm. Although I should stipulate that role-playing games kind of empowers players to do their thing. But at the same time, you kind of have to together collaborate in a method that facilitates a story.
I have found adversarial playing is basically tantamount to what's the problem player in your group. Adversarial players, in my opinion, have forged more adversarial GMs than anything else. When you have that player who is argumentative, that player who's disruptive or whatever, right?
Right.
I think the thing that's interesting is, well, when you say that, I'm agreeing with you, and people say, well, that's like the person who makes the loner character who wants nothing to do with anything. In Session 0, they promised they wouldn't do that, and all that stuff. It comes in all shapes and sizes. You can be in the middle of a game, and you'll hear the constant cry of, well, that's just not how my character would do it, for whatever that is. My wizard wouldn't do that. He's never been an asshole before. Why is he an asshole today? You know. But I think you're right, and I believe that one of the things, it's infectious. It's weird, you know, because when that person is being essentially confrontational, I see it as adversarial playing, to me, usually pops up as confrontational to the game master. Well, that rule doesn't work like that, or that's not how that goes. Oh, I don't know if that makes any sense, you know, where they're picking nits and so forth. And it's usually, in my opinion, done out of character with the character as the shield. So as soon as you come down on that person or the other players say, hey, Brett, XYZ, then the immediate answer from Brett, well, that's just my character, man, I guess, but I'll have to compromise my character concept if that's what you want me to do, you know, kind of thing. Every time I've witnessed adversarial players, the character sheet is the shield that's used to to be able to defend whatever it is that they're trying to get away with.
Well, I also think it's repetitive and obvious, and
not just a one band evening. Like, hey, Sean's out of it tonight, and VC and Brett are like, dude, the fuck, man. Even Ange wants to kick your ass. What's going on with you? You know,
it may not be obvious. I'll put that out there, but it is deliberate, I would say, and over time, consistently deliberate.
Yes.
So even if it's what I'm trying to say is that it's not hey, that rule doesn't work like that, and you look it up and blah blah blah. It's that rule never works like that. Oh no, by the way, the next rule you bring up doesn't work like that, and oh by the way, the next rule that you bring up doesn't work like that either. Now, if it gets to that point, you guys are probably playing two different games.
Yes. One is fun. The other one is some asshole.
One is where somebody's playing the game and somebody like maybe Brett is like winging it and not going by the rules, which is not a bad thing necessarily. I'm just saying that it's just two people on two different pages.
So, I mean, we brought up everybody. I should say everybody. We bring up Session 0. Instructor Marquez. A lot of people have brought up the Session 0 thing. One of the reasons to do that is to level set as best you can. Like, hey, This is what we are. This is how we're going to play, and so on.
Right.
And that doesn't fix everything. And when I first heard about the adversarial players, my thought is it's kind of the start of what could be the problem player if it doesn't go away. If you have done the session 0, you can do the thing like, look, we talked about this. Everyone's no one's supposed to make a chaotic character. Why are you chaotic evil of all things? Oh, I just thought it'd be more fun. We talked about this. No one was supposed to make an evil character. Why are you of evil alignment? And the game master's like, yeah, dude, VC, man, you said you were supposed to. Everyone was going to be neutral or good. Why did you do this? It's integral to our story. No, I just thought evil would be more fun. Dude, no, you cannot do that. So I don't mind bringing up, and I have done this in the past. Look, the rules of the road were, which we all agreed to, X, Y, and Z. You were in violation of X, Y, and Z. Fix it. To me, letting it fester or grow, that's when it becomes the problem. If you don't fix it when you see it, if you don't take the time to address it, that's when feelings get more hurt and things get drawn out. And then you don't have one problem player, one person who's being adversarial, not only to the game master, but to the rest of the experience in itself. But now I'm creating pockets of adversity throughout the room, right? Where these two decide that they're fucking sick of his shit, and these other two decide they're sick of her shit, and then you get these weird little in-group schisms that can happen, and game masters are trying to negotiate, and, you tell Sean that I said, oh, for God's sakes, he's right across the table from you, that high school-y kind of bullshit. So my thought is when I see that, when it first starts happening, is I squish that stuff as fast as possible. I do it as nicely as I can. I don't, threaten people right away. Usually it takes a little bit of time. Second time, you can start threatening people. But no, seriously, when I see it happen, it's like, okay, hang on a second. We talked about this, either in session 0 or the prep session, the character build. This is what we're going to do. We all agreed last session that this is what we're up to. What's the deal? And when someone has thrown their character sheet up and said, well, that's not what my character would do, say, okay, do we need to have, maybe the characters need to sit in the tavern a little bit longer and hash this out and get your character on board. Find an in-game solution or out-of-game solution or whatever. But for me, I have learned over my years of trying to ignore it and hoping it goes away. The shit doesn't go away. You need to address it. So at least that's always worked for me. Worst case is the person who I addressed it with no longer plays with me. And no one else cares. Because the person was getting very adversarial and it was not working. So, hey, it didn't work out. You don't have to play with that person. You just don't. Sean, you're smirking. You're smirking at me.
Yeah. I don't know. Adversarial GMing and then adversarial playing. I don't know. It's so funny. I think it's one of those things where you're like, I know it when I see it.
Yeah, it totally can be.
I think that
it's bad. I think it's not good.
Well, it's just there are certain mentalities that happen to occur at tables where that just don't jive.
Yeah,
there's a sense of wanting to win, or there's a.
Well, that's a big one, right? We talked about that with the GM thing. Is like my buddy John used to say, "Look, your job is to beat me. I am the game. Good luck," kind of thing. That was his approach. He told you that shit flat out, so you knew what you're up for. When you've explained to everybody flat out what this game is all about, and you've got somebody there who wants to win and beat the game. I want to beat D&D. I want to beat. I want to beat Apocalypse World. The fuck. If that is what they're there for, that's when the adversarial nature seems to kind of poke its ugly head out. Now, if everybody at the table is supposed to win, right? Because that's what the game's all about. Whether it's a board game or whatever, you laid it out like, look, everything in this dungeon is going to kill you. Good luck, kids. I will pull no punches. I'm here to try to beat you. Okay, then you in turn playing back with punching back, if you will, it makes sense because the ground rules were set that's how we're going to do it. But I really think, as I said at the beginning, that when guys I knew who had developed some really bad game master habits, developed them in as a reflex action or a safety mechanism from players who are acting like that. Basically, the bad player in the group, the person who's trying to win, the person who's trying to be smarter, better, or whatever, the person who would read the module right? Cheating. The guys who would cheat, this adversarial approach. But almost every bad game master habit I've developed or I've watched developed around me from other GMs, it was all done in hopes of solving a problem that they'd encountered with their players.
Cheating at RPGs.
Isn't that fucking weird? Isn't that weird?
Hilarious. Like,
that's the whole winning thing too, right? Yeah, it'd be great to get to the center of the Tomb of Horrors and find out where a Serac is buried and defeat the Demi-Lich and blah blah blah. Spoilers. Oh no. But anyway, it would be great. But hey, you die, or whatever. I don't get it. But I think for me, every time I've encountered adversarial play, is somebody's trying to win. They're trying to do something for themselves. And they usually are not trying to do it for the good of the group. They're usually trying to do it for their character, just for themselves, so that they can come out on top somehow. And I think that it's the best way to solve it is to address it immediately. And if it doesn't get fixed, you need to remove that person from the group. Do you agree with that, Sean? Or
got a better way? Yeah. No, I think you got to address it. The problem is some of us have it's hard to do sometimes. So some of us are just confrontational adverse. Confrontational. Yeah.
Yeah, you just don't like getting,
just don't want to do it.
Just don't want to get, especially when you're
like, hey man, hey Brett, like, hey,
fuck you, Sean. Oh, what? Oh, okay. I guess nothing.
Okay, well, never mind. That's cool.
Especially,
if you don't want to watch Stranger Things, that's cool, man. I mean,
when you've got a group of people you played with for 10 years, 8 years, or a year, and you're like, oh my god,
people still get butthurt.
They do. People get really cranky.
They get butthurt. They get really like, oh, they never let that shit go. No, it's always at one time. Remember that one time we were going through Pharaoh? Oh, you were such a dick. Oh. But yeah, do it with a new group or people you don't know, and you're trying to tell the person. I mean, dude, in my job, I've had to tell people that their hygiene isn't that great.
Yeah.
That's awkward. It's uncomfortable, and it has to be said.
Yeah, I've had the lovely thing on more than one occasion where I've had to deliver year-end reviews for people whose managers. Yep. I'm now their manager, and I have no idea what this other person put down. I'm like, wow, I get to go give them this message. This is going to be awesome. Yeah, it sucks. But I honestly think that adversarial play is almost easier to deal with than game mastering because, and I don't know why, but it feels like it should be anyway. If the players have a lot of power there, where if they don't like what's going on, it's not just between. So if the players don't like the adversarial game master approach, they as a group can confront, talk about, help to fix, so on and so forth. As a team, the DM is basically, the GM is just another player on that team, right? If that person's not the issue and the adversarial approach is coming from player A on the left-hand side of the table, everybody on the team, and it's not just the GM's job, can help to fix that. Like, hey man, we talked about this. That's not how we're playing this game. If you and if you really don't like it, at some point, it can be just constant reminders. Hey, hey, hey. And I think sometimes it is uncomfortable, but sometimes you're like, look, this is just not what we're going to do. We'll play that game that you want to play next. How about that? No? Not good enough? Then you got to fuck off. Perhaps don't tell them to fuck off, but you can remove people if you need to.
Just I can't make it Tuesdays anymore, guys. Brett,
change the schedule. That is the classic.
Change the schedule. Gotta change the schedule. Hey, Kevin, you available Wednesdays?
The only time that asshole Brett can play.
We're probably call it a day.
Brett's an asshole. The only time he can play is Tuesdays. Who's up for Wednesdays? Yeah, boom. Eat that, you asshole.
Effective.
Let
me tell you. So
I've done it. I'm not.
Brett doesn't know. I've been playing D&D for the last year without him, and Kevin and James.
Oh, that would hurt. That would make me laugh.
No, I wouldn't. It's not happening. That's not the case.
Well, now you've got me worried. You know, I noticed you turn off Find My Friends on your GPS, too, so I can't even find you anymore. What's that about?
That's right.
Are you playing with another group, Sean?
I just don't want to
Just tell me straight, man.
No, it's the same group, Brett, just not with you.
Oh. Everybody but me.
Ouch. See how you can have these conversations if you just know the person?
It helps. It does help.
Yeah, Brett's not butthurt at all.
If you don't know the guy, the other piece is if you don't know him. So anyway, I honestly think, as cliche as it is, but you've got to say it. Once you see somebody, game mastering is difficult because the person's running the game. They put a lot of time into prepping, and they're approaching it in a way that feels adversarial to you, and you're just, I like playing, but there's that thing that Brett's doing. It's driving me batty. Arg. Can be very similar with players, but usually what happens is the adversarial player, in my experience, tends to impact not only the game master, but the other players around him. So the game master, Brett's being adversarial, as we talked about, confronting the players, being kind of a dick about it, whatever. And he's doing this thing, and there's 5 people at the table, and they're like, this just is frustrating. They can all approach me. They can all talk. They can change game night. They can change the game. They can wrap it up and say, hey, I've got an idea. We're really bored with D&D. Sean would like to run some spy thing. Let's do that. Or dump his beer on the floor. Depends what he does.
No, it's one of my cats driving me crazy again.
Looked like you dumped your beer on the cat. That'd have been funny.
No, he's just being annoying.
But when it's the adversarial player, I really think it's kind of harder in a way because the game master is like, okay, whatever. I'll just shut Brett up. Fine. Sean, I like you. I'll talk to you. Oh, there's Eileen. Thank God Eileen's here because I can play with her and Ange and Sean. Well, that asshole, I'll just ignore him for a session. So the confrontation or getting in front of the problem, I think, is the best way to go. So anyway, we're already running long, dude, and I don't mean to beat this one to death, but I really do think that when you run into it, you've got to call it, and you've got to consistently call it. Look, we talked about it in our session 0. One more reason to do it. We talked about it. You're not supposed to do that. We talked about it. You're not supposed to do it. Dude, I told you 3 fucking times. We talked about it. You're not supposed to do it. And then the group's got to figure out what they're going to do. Change game night, ask that person to leave, or do something. Or maybe just once they've had explained to them, like, look, this thing you're doing is pissing us all off. That person may not even know it because no one's ever told them. That's true. And I don't think it happens very often. No, not often. No, it's not very often.
Because sometimes those people are probably playing alone, or they're they probably aren't in a group, or I don't know. There's just bad personalities are just they happen. They're not bad people necessarily,
or they just don't fit with what you're trying to do. Nothing wrong with that.
Right. That's right.
There's some. I mean, to go back to our sports ball stuff, right? So I used to be.
I'd rather go into recruiting. Brett, my day job. For example, I have no idea how in the hell many managers hire, because there are plenty that I know hire people that I would never consider.
I use a dartboard.
Well, see, there you go. At least I know you have a method. Because there's other clients I'll be like, I don't understand. How did you interview the person? Did you ask them questions?
Did you talk to them at all? How
did you talk to them? Did you meet them? Because I don't understand how you qualified them to this job that I've been working on for 2 months straight.
Yeah. I got people working around me that I wonder sometimes how the hell they got that job.
Exactly. How the hell we all have worked with somebody. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
How the hell did they get that job? Oh, they're friends with the boss. They right time. Maybe they butter up to the right person. I don't know.
They were
we all
really
know
good.
It's a mystery.
Something happened. That's happened too.
Shit, sometimes maybe it's me. Maybe I'm that guy.
Sean, if the rest of the world seems to can't possibly be the problem, what's the common theme here?
Common denominator.
So the other component too, speaking of that, I think we can probably tail off after this piece, but the adversarial player, is there a problem that they don't know is there, or is something bugging them? Is the reason that person is acting up, acting out, however you want to describe it, the reason that approach is happening is because they're pissed. Because the game master keeps ignoring them. Or every time they give a really good idea, everyone poo-poos them and shuts them up. if every time you as a player were to try to speak, you were to get smacked down one way or the other from the rest of the group, or someone's talking over the top of you, your ideas don't matter, your character's never thought of. They always give the good magic items to the fighter, even though you're the paladin. Hey, guess what? I'm getting my ass kicked too. Sometimes it's a reaction to being treated like shit. And people who get treated like shit, especially in a 4-hour game session, after the first 2 hours, they may adopt a slightly snarky attitude about that. So again, ask what's going on. Publicly, privately, whatever's the most comfortable way for you. Find out what the deal is. Because if that person...
Sometimes it's groupthink. Sometimes it's like the gang.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we all know each other, and we game all the time. And then the new guy shows up, and then they feel out of place, and then they act in a particular way that seems adversarial to the group or even the game master, but maybe that player's like, man, I'm just trying to fit in and do my shit.
Yeah, I'm different. You haven't played with any other person in 20 years. I'm so happy that you graciously allowed me to game with you guys, but you can't act like I know every in-joke. You can't ignore me.
Right.
Come on, guys. Throw me a bone here, man. I'm trying. So yeah, that could easily, not easily, but that could be a part of it too. So again, it bears investigating and digging into it, because are they doing it as a reaction? Are they doing it because they're assholes? Are they doing it because that's just how they play and no one's ever told them different? So you've got to talk about it, I guess. So, all right, man, let's move on. We're way long.
Way long. The roll.
Yeah, I've got one. I posted this up on Google+. 8,000-year-old heads found on spears inside a Swedish lake. This is one of those things that if makes me think Shadows of the Demon Lord, it makes me think Call of Cthulhu, Delta Green, any number of things. East central Sweden, workers were demolishing a railway that crossed this river, and they discovered basically about 7,500 years ago, it was a shallow, swampy lake, hidden pile of stones that contained the skeletal remains of at least 10 people and weapons made of stone and antler. Bones of bears, deer, boar, badgers, and all sorts of stuff. Some human skulls were mounted on stakes as well. Very cool.
Cool.
From now, obviously, if your head was mounted on a stake, probably not so cool for you. But from a gaming perspective, story-basing stuff, cool. So, link in the show notes, of course. Sean?
So, my first one, plastic bubbles from the toy vending machines make great slimes or shields. Thanks to the SheDM on Twitter. She's got a picture of, got little miniatures, them little stupid things you get them fake rings in and stuff.
Oh my God, that's really...
You just use the top of that thing and put it over your miniature.
Oh my God.
Genius.
That is very cool. I told a buddy of mine who is into wargaming, and anybody who's into wargaming, I don't know if there is a channel out there. I'm sure there probably is already. But he is amazing at finding like household stuff and turning it into modeling material.
Right.
A lot of those guys are.
Yeah.
The men and women that do it. I'm like, you guys, if you don't have a YouTube channel yet on how to take, stuff from your old aquarium and make it into a Warhammer 40K model, dude, put that shit up on YouTube because people will love you for it. Instead of paying $60 to $100 for the Games Workshop, whatever, it costs $1 at the fish store.
There you go. Second one, Sly Flourish, on Twitter, a.k.a. Mike Shea, lists some random tables to generate 400,000 unique fantastic monuments. That's on Twitter, and you can use it. I think he'll let you use it as long as you don't use it to include it in a publication. Because somebody's like, hey, can I use that? And he's like, sure, for what? Your game? Sure, but don't sell it or put it in another pub. Mike is putting out Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master Kickstarter. So if you like Mike puts out phenomenal stuff on Twitter about GMing and easier ways to do things and creative ways to do things. But so if you get into the Lazy Dungeon Master Kickstarter, it ends Friday, March 9th, 2018. After that, I don't know if you can get a copy, but he is doing that, which is pretty awesome.
Wow, and that thing is funded like crazy, man.
Yeah.
The $3,500 goal, he's at $45K.
Yeah.
And his support levels are like
5,000%.
Yeah, it's like $8 or $13 level. I mean, wow. Okay, cool. Yeah. Very neat.
Yeah, then we got some from listeners.
Yeah, Sky Slayton pointed out a resource that Sean could use, for his West Marches game. An encounter chart from Blog of Holding. Link in the show notes there. That looked pretty damn cool.
Yeah, Fabled Gate to Hell really did kill people. That was, and now we know why. That's by John Platt on Mother Nature Network website, thanks to Goblin's Henchman. So I think there was elevated CO2 levels.
Yes, it was I think it was to Pluto, the god of the underworld. And depending where you were and where your body was held, wherever the CO2 was deadly. So, yeah, kind of cool. Again, not if you died there. Cool from a gaming perspective.
That's right.
We are not suggesting that you murder people with CO2. Do something else.
Right.
That's far too much work. Find something else.
Yeah, don't do that.
Chris Short pointed out a pretty kick-ass tabletop RPG accessory, the Game Master System by Dogmite. Its Kickstarter will be over on the 27th, but you might be able to buy one after the fact. We were talking a little bit about some goodies on about the Midlands and whatever, and this is a really kind of interesting. It's like it's all wood, right? These little GM screen, die roller box, pretty neat. So take a look at it. And if you didn't get on it, or you can't get it afterwards, and you're crafty, it might be a handy thing to look at for some inspiration.
Then Avi Waxberg lets us know about Vagabonds of Dyfed by Sigil Stone Publishing. Kickstarter now until March 8th, 2018. It's OSR meets Powered by the Apocalypse.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's an interesting one to take a look at.
The pledge level on that one, there's like $10. There's one level. It's $10.
It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it actually does. And that one's, at this point, 10 days to go as of the day we're recording this, and he's $49.9 of a $4,000 goal, so he's already there. Neat. Cool stuff, man.
Yeah, so definitely check it out. Thanks, everybody, for writing in. Thanks for sticking with us in the die rolls. Brett, what are we talking about next week, dude?
Next week, we're going to talk about when we make worlds, kind of a approach to it. And is the world made for the PCs or not? Kind of the high-level topic. I'll break it down a little bit more in the episode itself, and we'll get into it more there.
Excellent. Well, all right. This has been another episode of Gaming NBS. I'm one of your hosts, Sean.
And I'm Brett. Good night and good game and all.
This episode of Gaming NBS brought to you with the help from the following BSers. Kevin Lovecraft, Joe Swick, Brett's biggest fan, Forster Gary, Mark Anthony Benedetti, Eric Jeppeson, Sean Nicholson, Tim Jensen, Palladian, Remy Bellado, Jason Hobbs, Wayne Humfleet, James Carpio, Pure Mongrel, Lord Tentacle, Corey Johnson, Brandon Barnes, Dan LaValle, C.W. Mellencamp, Lost Sailor, Tom McGowan, Misdirected Mark Productions, Jason, Christopher Gray, Finnulf, Mirko Froelich, Eileen Barnes, Tony Sugarloaf Baker, Todd Crapper, Michael Drescher, With Static, Alexander Auerbach, Neil Benson, Ron Blessing, Chris Steele, Eric the Hoffman, Soldiers of Misfortune RPG, Christopher Lang, Curtis Takahashi, Mark Tasaka, Larry Hout, Ray Otis, Ron Bishop, Craig Huber, Xavier G, JV, John Hammersley, Derelict Radio, John Steve, Jared Rasher, Mark Richmond, Thomas Hook, Blake Ryan, Chad Glayman, Sky, Roger Braslett, Evan Harrison Cass, Craig, Howard Bishop, Christian Sexy Voice Serrano, Jim Fitzpatrick, Peter Scanis, The Knights of the Night Crew, Josh Wallace, Corey Welch, Eli Kurtz, Gordon Cranford, Pateri Tertianen, Andy Hall, Corey Wynn, Graham Meinert. Yeah. For other ways to support the show, head over to gamingnbs.com/support-us. Thanks, BSers!
This has been a Litterbox Studio production.